The genesis of a successful life is rarely a pristine sunrise. The narrative often begins shrouded in ambiguity, a story woven with threads in uncertainty and hardship, where the path to triumph isn't clearly marked but hinted at in subtle omens. Whispers of potential lost amidst the everyday struggle. While the polished public image may suggest a smooth ascent, closer inspection invariably reveals a more complex story. The seeds of future greatness are often sown in unlikely soil, nurtured by challenges that forge resilience and shape the individual into the force they eventually become. It is in these seemingly insignificant moments, these overlooked lives, that's where we find the true beginnings of extraordinary lives, a testament to the fact that even amidst the chaos, destiny often leaves its mark. This isn't a tale of inherited wealth or lucky breaks. This is the story of Dr. Osei Kwame Despite. Kwame Despite, born Osei Kwame, born on the 2nd February 1962 at Aguna Yamasi in the Ashanti region, is one of the most successful and richest businessmen in Ghana. He started life as a petty trader, dealing in everything that could make him some money: padlocks, feeding bottles, and even cassettes. After the vinyl recording industry collapsed in Ghana in the late 1970s, the country moved towards cassette production in the 1980s, mainly carried out by an estimated 5,000 pirates operating from small kiosks. This was a period where music recording had just been introduced in Ghana somewhere along the line in 1948 and is beginning to gain grounds, and the people also loved it so much, especially the ability to store the recorded music on the cassette and play it every time you need it. The dream of every young boy coming from a family where he has to dig and build a foundation before putting up a whole complete structure was to move to the city. From Aguna Yamase, he moved to Kumasi to seek greener pastures. There, he went into the selling of second-hand clothes. But Kumasi seemed not to be the greener pastures he had imagined earlier on. It was more of a testing ground for survival. Life there was a bit tough and rough. He was constantly making mistakes with his sales, and at the same time, the little money he had made was almost spent on food and other petty expenditures. He doesn't eat much too, but still he's unable to save more. In search of more greener pastures, he set his eyes on the capital city of Ghana, Accra. But then again, the country was in a difficult time. The economy was in a bad shape, making the ability to live in the country almost comparable to hell, and it seemed to be a ripple effect, he thought. The difficulties in Kumasi seemed to be a mere prelude to something far harsher. He found himself questioning his choice, bouncing between the two. If Kumasi was this difficult, what awaited him in Accra, the city overflowing with hopeful migrants, chasing the same elusive dream as he? At that time, Nigeria, the only English-speaking nation geographically close to Ghana, was experiencing economic boom after it even discovered vast oil in abundance, making it very attractive to people seeking greener pastures far from home. It was a difficult choice, but then again, he had nothing to lose, but a lot more to gain. He is a young boy with nothing or anyone as a plan B or a backup plan. He had little education and was able to add up one or two alphabets to make a complete, comprehensible English statement. Despite all this, he set out to Nigeria. He possessed nothing but hope in a heavy heart, a dangerous gamble for a life, where he had also imagined as a more greener pastures than the previous places he had been earlier on. They didn't actually meet his expectations. He stayed there for quite a while, did other petty jobs, and this time was able to save more than usual. Life in Nigeria seemed to be on a balanced scale. At times it's hard and other times too it's good. But then what else could he do? This is not Ghana. He is in another man's land and doesn't expect to be treated as equal as the custodian of the land. Besides, he was a stranger in a strange land. With time, tensions between Ghana and Nigeria began to rise. In 1983, he was forced to flee the country following a presidential executive order due to the fears that Ghanaians and other migrants were taking over Nigerian jobs. More people saw this as a retaliatory act by the government of Nigeria, as Ghana had already expelled Nigerians from their country in 1969, when the government issued an order for all undocumented aliens to leave the country, majority of which were Nigerians. He came back to the point where it had all begun, home, with only a chainsaw machine and a Trident cassette player. He started a timber contractor business with a chainsaw machine, but then since it is his first time in the business and he had little experience too, he broke down his machine when his machine was crushed by a falling tree on his first business trip. Undeterred, he returned back to his trading business. At a point, it seemed he was moving rapidly back to stage 1. But at times, life can sometimes be like a catapult. It pulls you back with a force in order to release you to greatness. These are the forces that ultimately propel you forward, releasing you with unexpected velocity towards greatness that you could never have imagined before the pull. This time around, he focused solely on selling music cassettes. It was much easier. He had a Trident cassette player he had brought from Nigeria. All he needed was a strategy to boost the sales. The period of music cassette, there was a particular scam where you can buy a cassette, take it home, and you realize there's nothing on the cassette. It's just an empty cassette with no sound stored on it. He chose to do the opposite. He puts the cassette in his Trident cassette player, plays the music for the customer, and it's up to the customer to choose to buy or not. It was a simple business strategy, but it was very, very effective. He soon realized if he would succeed more in this business, then he has to expand and diversify. Despite group of companies started as a Despite stores that marketed and distributed audio cassette across the country, the business grew over the years, so as his reputation. He then realized again he needed to expand, to diversify, to reach beyond the limitations of a single market, to truly connect with his customers and reach a wide range of other customers. To build a legacy that extends beyond commerce, he needed to communicate with them on a deeper level, to capture their hearts and minds. And the most potent tool for this, he knew, was the power of media. So he did what many would deem audacious, what few would have dared attempted. He built a radio station, Peace FM. In its young stage, it was hardly the impressive giant it would become today. It was a small beginning, modest in scale and resources, but it held the immense potential of a burning desire, ready to accomplish great things. It was the first step on a remarkable journey. The success of Peace FM set the pace for the opening of the other radio stations under the group name, Despite Group of Companies. Today, the company operates 3 radio stations in Accra, 1 in the Ashanti region, and dozens of other affiliates across the length and breadth of the country. By this point, Kwame Despite was no longer just a shrewd businessman. He was a seasoned entrepreneur. His confidence, boosted by years of success, he'd planted the seeds of his media empire, and now it was time to cultivate new fields. His sights were set on diversifying further, venturing into uncharted territory, the food and beverage industry beckoned, and with characteristic boldness, he established Atona Foods Production Limited, introducing the popular this-way chocolate drink and the non-dairy creamer to the market. His ambitions knew no bounds. Recognizing the power of strategic partnerships, he joined forces with Dr. Ernest Ofori-Sapon, a collaboration that bettered U2 Company Limited, manufacturers of U2 ID Salt and Best Point Saving Salons, as well as other businesses, extending his reach into yet another sector. This diversification was more than just simply expanding his business portfolio. It was a deliberate strategy to establish a vast and resilient enterprise, a true empire built on multiple pillars of industry.